If you needed a reminder of just how much glorious detail was painstakingly packed into George Lucas' first prequel, then just look at all of the following wonderful hidden facts and details that many still have not caught over 25 years since the film premiered. Because I am Gareth, this is What Culture Star Wars, and here are 9 hidden facts you didn't know about Star Wars Episode 1: The Phantom Menace. Number 9. See no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil, pit droids. Not only did Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, see the arrival of the iconic B-1 battle droid, it also brought with it a ton of other interesting new droid faces, including the hapless Dumb series pit droids, or DUM series, I just like saying dumb. These silly little scamps could be seen helping out during the Boonta Eve Classic, with one of them even learning the hard way what happens when you walk in front of a gigantic pod racer intake. And it was after that awkward moment when the VFX team snuck in a rather fun little detail. If you look closely at 3 of the record-setting droids, you'll spot them doing something quite familiar. One can be seen looking away and shaking their head, another is covering where a person's mouth typically would be, and the last has their hands over where someone's ears would usually go. In other words, they seem to be doing the droid version of the famous 3 wise monkeys proverb. See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil? If they didn't see, hear, or speak about this pod-wrecking mess, maybe they could all just pretend it never happened. Right, this was a very funny droid moment, but I want to know right now, what do you think is the funniest droid moment in all of Star Wars? Let me know in the comments. And speaking of droids, number 8, even droids have to clean their vehicles. Keeping with the mechanical faces found wandering around the galaxy throughout this first prequel, the opening stages of Episode 1 introduced the world to the aforementioned B-1 battle droids. Many of those skeleton-like bots were quickly dispatched by Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi on the Trade Federation ship early on, but the 2 Jedi quickly learned that many more were preparing to invade Naboo. It's during that scene when Jinn and Kenobi decide to stow aboard the droid ships and warn the Naboo about what's heading their way, when one of the invading troops can just about be seen doing something very comical in the background. You see, in the wide shot that shows off that droid army, one B-1 series soldier is scrubbing an armoured assault tank, performing the sort of soul-crushing task a parent would typically get their kid to do for their own car to earn some extra pocket money. Nope, just me? Okay. Making the hiding in plain sight sequence even funnier, it actually looks like another droid is supervising this last-minute spruce-up, cracking the mechanical whip and demanding to see their expressionless face in that bumper. You can't be invading a peaceful planet with a dirty tank now, can you? Number 7, the Maltese Falcon makes its way to the galaxy far, far away. In case you didn't know, the Maltese Falcon is one of the most famous props in Hollywood history. Appearing in the classic 1941 noir movie of the same name, a number of these statuettes were crafted for the picture, with one made of resin actually going missing for 50 years, before eventually being purchased by a group that included Leonardo DiCaprio for $300,000. Simply put, it's a quite valuable and well-known piece of movie history, and it's one that actually sort of secretly appeared in Episode 1. Look closely around Palpatine's office on Coruscant, an office that we will mention again before this list is finished, and you'll spot a statuette that looks just like the legendary bird Leo & Co. would ultimately pay big money for. Was this just George Lucas' way of saluting a classic feature? Or was he actually hinting at Palpatine's moral ambiguity with the prop? As noted by New Rock Stars in their breakdown and analysis of the movie. It could be both, I'll let you decide. Number 6, the Beggars A New Hope callback. Along with the pulsating Duel of the Fates, the most captivating sequence of this first prequel is undoubtedly the high-speed Boonta Eve classic pod race. Here, Anakin Skywalker has to weave his way through the rocks and sand of Tatooine, all while trying to avoid being shot by Tusken Raiders and crashing into canyons. The latter was actually a subtle nod to a line Luke Skywalker first uttered all the way back in 1977, you know? with the farm boy noting how the Death Star trench was just like Beggars Canyon. That same location is the one his father is seen speeding through here in The Phantom Menace, and does indeed resemble the strip that Luke would fly down in his X-Wing before blowing up that first version of the planet-killing space station. Beggars Canyon would also show up in the Book of Boba Fett series, with Din Djarin flying through the same place the Skywalkers once had in his N1 Naboo starfighter in the show. And you'll never guess where Obi-Wan Kenobi is riding off to when he reunites with Qui-Gon Jinn at the end of his TV show. That's right, the very same canyon first mentioned back in 1977's Star Wars. Are you enjoying this Star Wars list right here? Then hit subscribe down below for even more of this fantastic What Culture Star Wars stuff in your corner of the galaxy. Number 5, the secret George Lucas cameo on Naboo. The Lucas clan had fun little cameo roles throughout the prequels, with perhaps the most famous being George Lucas himself appearing as Baron Papanoida in Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith. But did you know that he actually secretly had another cameo in this Star Wars trilogy? Remember when Queen Amidala and her palace guards are sprinting around Naboo towards the end of the movie just before they get surrounded by droids? Well, look up at the stone archway above them and you'll notice a little face in the middle of it. That face belongs to none other than the mind behind the galaxy far, far away, and was put there by the person who created the stunning matte painting used to enhance the practical set. After former Industrial Light and Magic matte painter Caroline Jet Green added George into the work of art, she was told this cheeky appearance probably needed his approval, and Lucas apparently responded with an "oh, naughty naughty" when he saw it, before eventually saying, "okay, leave it in." Number 4, Palpatine's evil music is lurking in the background at the end. Staying on the planet of Naboo for this next entry, Lucas' first prequel concludes with a wonderful celebration, as Gungans and the Naboo party on the streets after seeing off the Trade Federation. It's a jolly and rousing final scene, though fans were well aware that the good times would not last, and this trilogy wasn't going to end on the most positive of notes. The darkness on the horizon was secretly foreshadowed here if you were listening closely. You see, the upbeat tune heard throughout these closing stages is more important than it seems, as it's actually linked to the most awful person in the galaxy, a figure who was already covertly pulling the strings and plotting the rise of his new empire at this point in time. The theme of Emperor Palpatine heard during the original trilogy sounds strangely similar to the Augie's Great Municipal Band theme playing at the end of this prequel, with the latter just being a faster and lighter version of the darker melody. Much like Palpatine himself in this moment, the song may give off the appearance of being friendly and positive, but there's a great evil lurking underneath the surface. Number 3, Luke's Landspeeder returned. Right, so here's a fun one. First appearing all the way back in 1977 on Tatooine, the speeder Luke Skywalker used to fly through the sands of the desert world was something every person on our own planet desperately wished they had parked in the garage. It doesn't get much cooler than a hover car, right? And in a little salute to the iconic speeder that was made to look like it was floating on air by using mirrors to reflect the desert sand, George Lucas & Co. actually dumped an almost identical one into the scene where Qui-Gon Jinn and Padme arrive on Tatooine in Episode 1. This wasn't just a case of creating a new model and changing its colour from red to green for the 1999 movie though. It turns out that they actually used the exact same X-34 Landspeeder first seen in 1977's Star Wars, and just spray painted it a different colour before sneaking it into the background. How cool! Number 2, Darth Sidious is openly chatting to his Sith apprentice on Palpatine's balcony. It was pretty clear to most viewers that Senator Palpatine was the dude under the hood seen chatting to the Trade Federation and Darth Maul throughout Episode 1. But the people in the galaxy far, far away weren't exactly aware that he was secretly Darth Sidious, even though he wasn't really doing that much to hide it. Let me explain. There's a memorable scene there when Sidious and Maul have a chat on a balcony on Coruscant, with the latter telling him, "At last we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi, at last we will have our revenge." Now, if you compare that balcony to the ones seen outside of Palpatine's office in the same movie, you'll actually find that Sidious is wandering across the exact same one when talking to his Sith apprentice. With this conversation going down at night, perhaps their big black cloaks made them invisible to the average flying vehicle soaring past Sheev's place of work. Or maybe Palpatine just enjoyed the thrill of living on the edge. Either way, for the few audience members out there who didn't realize the Sheev-Sith connection, Lucas secretly let them know that Palps and Sidious were linked with something as simple as a balcony. Number 1, Anakin's pod switches are actually from a Fiat. You've no doubt heard of the many fascinating ways George Lucas and his team took real-world items and transformed them into pieces of tech used in this galaxy far, far away, with many brilliant examples being present in Episode 1. Away from more obvious and famous things like Qui-Gon Jinn using a women's razor to communicate, you may not be aware of the fact that Anakin Skywalker's pod racer also possessed some rather familiar features. As he flicks the switches within that rapid vehicle during the Boonta Eve Classic, those who spent some time driving around in a Fiat Uno from the 80s will possibly recognize some of them. That's because they were taken right from that car and used to craft Annie's winning pod, with V-brakes from a bike seemingly also being used for it too. A fun little bit of trivia for you as well, Lucas' first car was apparently a Fiat, one that he used to race and almost got killed in. So you could say this was George's way of chucking a bit of his own history into the galaxy far, far away. You could say it, that's what I'm going to say, and I'm sticking to it.